Welcome to another episode, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights. Actually, this show might be Mike Fruitman, Sport Card Insights. Mike Fruitman is here with me. He's one of our distinguished sponsors, and I'm going to allow the tables to be turned, and he's going to interview me. We've been friends for a while, but not decades like some of the other sponsors and other friends in the hobby. We're here at the National this year. It's Mike's first National, even though he's been very involved in the industry. It's my 40th, which it's only been 40, so I've made all the Nationals. So I just thought it'd be interesting for Mike to ask me some questions because we don't have as much history as some of the others. Rich Klein asked me some questions, but I've known Rich for 40 years. So, but we've got other great sponsors: Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication, Burbank Sports Cards. I'm sitting here with Mike Fruitman of Mike Stadium Sports Cards, ComC, Heritage Auctions, Huggins and Scott Auctions, Panini, Topps, and Upper Deck. So again, thanks to our sponsors that help us to bring these episodes to you. They're short and sweet, and so I'm wondering what questions Mike wants to ask me in this 12 to 15 minute interview. So Mike, welcome and fire away.
So, all right, in the service of time here. So when did you open your card store? A lot of people don't even know.
79.
So what was it like opening a card shop in 1979?
Actually, it must have been 80. Yeah, 1980.
All right.
There was already a shop open. It was the first guy I ever met in the hobby that was in the national hobby was Gervis Ford, who was the number one collector in the Dallas area, and he and I started a collecting club back in 73 or 74, and organized the first shows there in that time frame. And then I moved away for a while, and when I came back in the summer of 80, he had a card shop, and he said, we were close friends and a lot of trust. We'd done a lot of hobby stuff together, and he just was a great guy. So he said, I could use some help. My wife is thinking that working every Saturday at the card shop would be not the way she'd like me to spend my time. So if you come in and you could put in some stuff. So I didn't put any money in. I just put in some inventory that I had from being a show dealer. And so we traded off weekends and did stuff. And I was single at that time, so I didn't get married till another year later. So, I'd done annual price guides and the price surveys. But, again, the magazines were on the distant horizon, but it was fun. It was fun. And to have a card shop and have the people come in, I really know what you're saying. People haven't changed that much. The complexity of the industry is so much greater, but we were, like you, pretty much a pure card shop. But unlike you, we really made a lot of money off commons. Of course, in those days, there was just Topps at that point.
So you bring up that we're at the National. And so how did the first National, how did people find out about it? 40 years ago.
The first National, Gavin Riley and Steve Bruner and Mike Burkus were promoters. I'd met Gavin in 74 or something, and he lived in one of the suburbs of Los Angeles. Had a fabulous collection, and met Bruner and Burkus somewhere around that time too. They were big collectors and promoters in the LA area, and so I was going to those kind of things. And so in 1979, 80, somewhere in that time frame, they floated the idea of a truly national show. Of course, it was going to start out in LA, but their shows were doing well, and so we actually put on the inside cover of our first price guide. We gave him a free ad and just said, "Look, like I said, I think you're a paid forward guy too. I just thought if this thing doesn't work, then it doesn't work. But if it does work, I don't know that I envisioned it would get as big as it got. But it's been a fabulous thing. So that's my small part in that. Aside from being buddies with those guys and encouraging them, and doing some trade out ads. Once Beckett Publications got going, we had booths and tried to help it be strong.
So you were doing the publications, but then when your magazine became more so, what was that transition like?
I couldn't. Once the magazine got going, I really couldn't be involved in the card shop anymore. So I divested. By that time, Wayne Grove, my other good buddy there, was there. So it wasn't me leaving Gervis in the lurch, but so Wayne was there, and there were other employees. But so I extracted from that. Same thing with the being a show dealer. I really haven't done shows since the 70s as a card seller. I love trading. I love selling. I love buying, but it's hard to. It's just a perception of a conflict if you're pricing cards and gathering data, but in the meantime you're buying and selling. So we had pretty strict policies for our employees.
The stories, being in Colorado, basically being on an island all those years before getting a chance to meet you. The stories, the rumor mill was incredible.
You're on a mountain. You're on an island now?
Well, it's surrounded by less inhabited states, but the stories, the rumor would be great. Like, so Don Mattingly rookies went up by $2 this month. Yeah. I bet he bought 1,000 of them last month, and now he's got $2,000 more. The stories about you that you got to be approached about. If you had to talk a story, what's the best question somebody's asked you as an inside question?
Well, no, this is just there's rumors, but I not only I just had that one store which I divested from, and that was, I thought, common knowledge, but it became a chain of stores.
Okay.
So it was all, and I'm not sure how they were branded because I'm not even sure what they're talking about. But just rumors just have a way of taking on a life of their own. But I love the hobby, and it really was. It did require personal discipline to say and again, it wasn't just me; it was for our employees that there was once the editorial the deadline for the price guide was on one day, and the magazine didn't come out for a few days after that. Even though we tried to get really accelerated printing and distribution, if there were a number of days in there, our employees couldn't be out there buying what was going to be going up. And again, it was, if you bought one for your personal collection, that'd be hard to police. But 1,000 Mattingleys to make $2 on each one, if people thought about it, just doesn't even make that much sense. But we tried really hard, and I had great teammates who really understood that we were in a position of public trust. And not only that, you couldn't even tell. I mean, you couldn't tell your cousin or your best friend that, hey, the Mattingly's going up next month.
Insider trading.
But many of the, in hindsight, I'm thinking, well, when Mattingly in 84, 85, in that time frame, when he was that hot, it was kind of obvious that it was going up because more people were coming into the industry, and he was a great inspirational player playing for an iconic team.
So the magazine is obviously part of your legacy, and as somebody who still sells it, I still sell Beckett magazine. It's right inside the door there. So when people collect these days, I'm kind of perceived to be a dinosaur by still carrying Beckett. The people who buy them are typically...
If you're a dinosaur, what does that make me?
A fellow dinosaur.
I think I'm previously extinct dinosaur.
You're not petroleum
Coming
yet.
out of retirement. It's not Jurassic Park, though, right?
This is La Brea over here.
Okay, La Brea, tar pits.
Yes.
Okay.
So
I don't know about this.
So I still sell it, and I still look every time there's a new football guide. I still look to see what the Elway does. And actually, interestingly enough, the Ken Griffey Jr. '89 Upper Deck went from $40 to $50 in the last 2 issues or so, and I still notice that. So right now, so much of the market isn't quote unquote Beckett magazine anymore. It's eBay's comps. So it's just a natural progression. It's more immediate response. And for collectors, of course, they want to use eBay because they want me to match a price that ended at 3 a.m. with a guy whose feedback is 8 because it works in their favor. But is there any part of you who not from the sales, not from the amount that gets sold, but kind of wishes it was still the magazine, or are you happy with how things are going in terms of research? Is that a thing, or?
Well, it's just things have evolved. I mean, there's Beckett Media puts out print publications, which people like having something in their hand, and it's well organized. There's books, there's magazines, but there's also an online price guide. You can get the Beckett Marketplace. You could dig into there and see if something's available there, and that's an actual price from a real dealer. There's ComC and there's eBay, and I don't begrudge anybody that if they are addicted or if they have this collecting bug, to whatever degree, they should try to see what some sense of what something is worth, and to look at more than one source. I have no problem with that. I think that's smart. And if they can talk you in to getting you to lower your price based on a comp that's not a comp, it's like. And Rob Barris has this philosophy, but there's in real estate, it's location, location, location. For a card, it could be location, location, location as well, because the card may sell for a different price based on the location where it is. So if it's on eBay coming out of a seller or a distress sale or somebody with negative feedback or whatever, I mean, there's just different prices based on the circumstances. Could be an auction where something was misprinted but you need to know your stuff, and our price guides always tried to be monitoring what's going on where willing and knowledgeable sellers are selling to willing and knowledgeable buyers. And so there's going to be some crazy prices out there on either end that we would try to throw out as not being representative. But back in the day, there were a lot of transactions. The hard part is getting prices for stuff that is very thinly traded.
Okay. So getting to know you, I've become aware you're a bit of a Pirates fan. I'm thinking back, you had a Topps Heritage card?
Yes.
So, and it's got you wearing the Pirates hat. So was that in a pack, or was that a special run, or what was that?
It actually wasn't a pack, and it was a special run.
Okay.
They made a bunch of them, and I still have some, but they made a bunch of them, and they were inserted in the magazines.
Okay.
So that's why you could see the fan favorite version that was put in the magazine. Then the ones that were in the packs were certified autographs, and those are tough. And they gave me a couple of those, but that was my hefty fee that I got. I got a few of my own signature, which now I realize those are certified autographs. But if I want to autograph my fan favorite card for somebody, they have to get it authenticated. If I autograph it myself, I have to get it authenticated. Something does not seem right about that, especially when I go to Beckett Authentication Services, the autographs. They give me they supposedly give me a best customer price, but that price is not zero for me to authenticate my own autograph on my own card. But that was fun. It was fun seeing it. It's actually Roberto Clemente's jersey that I was wearing.
He's actually, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was fun. And, so I forget whether they came down. I guess they came down and did a photo shoot or something. That's fun.
So in football, you always see you hear talk about the coaching tree. So there's the Bill Parcells coaching tree, and all the disciples go on to do any number of things. You have a pretty impressive Beckett tree, or Beckett coaching tree.
I don't know if we're all coaches. I'm trying to be the coach, but they're players. They're all-stars. We had a fabulous kind of a dream team, if I think back in the day. And so I'm really proud of the guys. I mean, I think they were sharp when they came and sharp when they left, and so many of them stayed in the industry. There are not that many jobs in this industry, but there's former employees of mine, of our company, that are at every card company, I think.
It wouldn't surprise me. I think
every card company.
I think some of my best friends in the industry, you've got Bill Sutherland, you've got Dave Slipka, and it seems like
great guys.
If I would hire anybody in the world, and I would hire somebody to work for Chick-fil-A, because they always get my pleasure, and they genuinely, I don't know if it's ingrained or whether they really feel it, but the guys you've brought on, the people I know at least, it seems like they all catch a bit of you.
Well, we basically, when we were hiring back in the day, you weren't looking for experience, because there was no experience in the beginning. Nobody could say, well, I've already worked for this other. There was no other comparable. And so we basically hired for ability, but also attitude, kind of equal parts. If somebody didn't have the right attitude, they weren't a team player, they didn't have their own sense of initiative, their own sense of ethics, then we just weren't going to hire them. And we made a few mistakes, but mostly we just had some great guys. So we had a great esprit de corps, a lot of teamwork. We had a basketball court, in the middle of our office, and so a lot of guys play. And then you really find out about somebody when you're banging for rebounds and trying to. I wish I could say I got fouled like everybody else. They said, wait a minute, I'm the boss. No, the game was, we had some spirited games many times.
So this year, I'm guessing due to numerous injuries, illnesses, and for whatever reasons, I somehow made the cut
Well, you've been on the radar for a long time, but you came to our hobby dinner last January, and we'll do that again. We'll see, based on this podcast, that was part of the genesis of this podcast, of just realizing that I don't really want to write an autobiography or do a book, because I'd be editing it. I want to just talk to my friends over this podcast medium and have enjoyable conversations like today. We're pretty close to the end.
Okay.
And I appreciate your candid questions. Mike, we'll do it again. We may not do this exact format, but we'll talk again. I especially want to give you an opportunity to share some of your wisdom with what's going on in card shops, which, again, I think is an important aspect of the health of our hobby that we love so much. So
thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
This has been my pleasure.
Mine too.
Is doing